time I wasn't scared.
Mickey 17 is a sci-fi dark comedy directed by Academy Award winner Bong Joon-Ho and starring Batman, Stormtrooper, Invincible, the Hulk, and I Am Your Mother! It tells the story of the 17th clone of an expendable worker named Mickey, whose previous versions had perished in a variety of painful and humiliating ways, all for the benefit of the wealthy elite. But due to a mishap, another clone is made while 17 is still alive, leading the two very different Mickeys to cause a chaotic chain of events that may lead humanity towards either doom or salvation. Mickey 17 very much feels like an amalgamation of Joon-Ho's past three films. The snowy sci-fi setting is reminiscent of Snowpiercer, the animal rights messaging is similar to Okja, and of course the subject of class struggle is present here too, though Mickey 17 doesn't reach nearly the same heights as Parasite does. Overall, I feel like the social critique wasn't as clever as I hoped it would be, especially after Parasite. Frankly, most of it was too on the nose for me, but maybe some people need it to be. With Joon-Ho's more Western-centric films, he tends to lean into absurdity more than I can get behind. Don't get me wrong, I love Robert Pattinson as Mickey 17 and Mickey 18. He gives two very different comedic performances that I quite enjoyed, but when nearly the entire cast is at the same level of hamminess as your lead, it makes it hard for me to connect with him, you know? In Mickey 17, there's also plot threads that don't really wrap up in a satisfying way. There's a potential love square that goes nowhere. There's a loan shark plotline that gets dispatched without much fanfare. It's films like this and The Brutalist that make me ponder on the supposed virtues of directors having full control over Final Cut. Of course, I'd rather have kooky auteur nonsense than a by-committee corporate slop product any day of the week. But I think there's something to be admired by making brevity a priority for your film. I know you want people to be immersed in your art, guys, but maybe don't waste your audience time with a pointless plot thread. It's a shame I didn't like this movie as much as I wanted to, because it does appeal to me as a left-leaning person. The villain, played by Mark Ruffalo, is clearly part Donald Trump, part Elon Musk, all entitled douchebag. Ruffalo, as a smarmy, elitist, insecure imbecile, chews the scenery every time he's in front of the camera. Sound familiar?
USA!
I'm gonna do it!
USA! USA! USA!
And that's not the only obvious parallel to our real-world political status. There are raving sycophants wearing red hats with slogans printed on them, and an assassination attempt that barely grazes the villain's face. I don't know when that last part was shot, but if it was before this happened, and that shit is spooky. While Ruffalo is clearly doing a version of Trump, his character is a stand-in for any absurdly wealthy, out-of-touch asshole who uses people less fortunate than him to get what he wants. Whether it be through religion, artificial food scarcity, or the threat of violence, the man on top will use whatever means that are at his disposal to keep you in line. Even flattery. Remember 2020? The world was ravaged by a quote-unquote once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, and in order to keep the economy running, certain groups were labeled as essential workers and applauded on social media as heroes. But when wages stayed the same even with the increased risk of harm, it became clear that essential worker meant something else entirely. Expendable. And that's why I can't dismiss Mickey 17 outright, because even though I found it to be too obvious in its satire, others might get something out of it that they weren't expecting. Maybe not full-blown class consciousness, though that would be great, but maybe they'll see this film and come to the right conclusion. There is no such thing as an expendable person. We all have worth, we all matter, and the sooner we realize this, then we can start to make this world a better place. Anyway, I give Mickey 17 a hell meh. I like the message, but not so much the execution. Just keep in mind, art is subjective, you like what you like, and rich people are not your friends. And now for something completely different.
Yeah. Good night, Jenny Pin.
The Rule of Jenny Pin is a psychological thriller starring Captain Barbossa, the Trinity Killer, and that guy in the big robot from the Matrix movies. An arrogant judge suffers a near-fatal stroke, leaving him partially paralyzed and confined to a retirement home. Resistant to the staff and distant from his friendly roommate, the man soon clashes with a seemingly gentle resident who secretly terrorizes the home with a sadistic game called The Rule of Jenny Pin, while wielding his dementia doll as an instrument of cruelty. What begins as childish torment quickly escalates into far more sinister and disturbing incidents.
We all get what's coming to us in the end.
This one had my nerves balled up into a knot, guys. Who would have thought that a thriller set at a retirement home could be so tense and upsetting? The concept of being restricted to a wheelchair while a maniac torments you daily is horrifying, and John Lithgow is just that. He's a monster that stalks the halls at night, looking for potential victims out past their curfew. He's been there so long he knows all the best hiding spots, how to avoid suspicion from the staff, and how to fake dementia-addled innocence. And the things he does to people. Just prepare yourself, especially if elderly abuse is a trigger for you. Geoffrey Rush gives a heart-wrenchingly defiant performance as he makes it his mission to resist and potentially take down Lithgow before his own spirit is shattered by the madman. I give this one a hell yeah. It's different, it's intense, it's mesmerizing. The film is in theaters, but will soon be on Shudder if anybody wants to check it out. And if you like horror set at a different angle, The Rule of Jenny Pin is for you.
Who rules?
Jenny Pin.
Well, that's the video, and I hope you found it helpful. If you liked it, give it a like. If you want to stick around, subscribe. Maybe click that bell to get notified for future videos. And I'll see you guys next time.